mysterious cloud hovering over the surface of Mars has left scientists baffled. The haze was first sighted 3 years ago by amateur astronomers and has now captured the interest of leading scientists who have published their findings in the Nature Journal.
This mystery haze defies current understanding of atmospheric physics on Mars. For more on this, we're joined by astronomer Vanessa Moss from the Sydney Observatory. Vanessa, let's go back to what we believe might be the atmospheric rules in Mars. What are they? What do we believe they are?
So I guess the weird thing about it is that the paper that was just published in Nature presents a couple of different ideas about where the emission could have come from to the cloud. One is that maybe it's a dust cloud that's been stirred up by activity on the surface. Another is maybe condensed ice, or so either water ice or CO2 ice, so carbon dioxide. And the last one is auroral emissions, so similar to the northern or the southern lights, aurora borealis, It's the Australian one, Australis. It's not as impressive as the Borealis. So that kind of idea, but on Mars. So there's a few problems with that, and the main issue is that the cloud, when they had these amateur astronomy pictures, and they could see it rotating because there were so many pictures made. So as it rotated, they could kind of figure out how high that cloud was above the surface. And they estimate somewhere between 200 and 250 kilometers. And that's really high. So dust typically doesn't get above 60 kilometers, ice doesn't get above 100, aurora have been seen up to 130 kilometers. So this is really high in the atmosphere, which makes it challenging to explain.
And these are huge clouds, right?
Yeah. So I think they said the width was about 500 to 1,000 kilometers. So huge.
So given that it can't be presumably dust, ice or the auroras, then this is what has scientists baffled, presumably. You haven't seen anything this far out in space from a planet before.
Yeah, so it's tricky. I mean, we take a lot of photos of Mars, but people aren't necessarily studying it all the time. And so one thing they did do is they looked back in old Hubble Space Telescope images of Mars to try and see, has this kind of thing happened before? And the astronomers who published the paper found some evidence of previous clouds only going up to about 100, except they did find one similarly in 1997. So there was a similar event in 97. And then the 2012 one was a repeat of that. And so I think the idea by publishing this paper, they've come up with their best interpretations, although they're not typical with what we expect from the atmosphere of Mars. But from there, other astronomers can come in and present different theories and try and get to the bottom of it and figure out what's going on.
The fact that this was seen by amateurs in 2012,
yeah.
As a professional astronomer, what do you think about that?
I think that's super exciting. I think the greatest thing about it is it highlights the potential for discovery by amateur astronomers, who are amazing, by the way. I'm a guide at Sydney Observatory as well as being an astronomer at the University of Sydney. And on the tour the other night, I had an astronomer come through who took photos. Like, he was a professional astronomer. He was from Arizona, I think New Mexico, Arizona. He had a remotely controlled telescope. He was showing me how he could get it up on his iPad. His images rivaled Hubble. They were so good, like with the Orion Nebula. And I guess particularly with time variable things that are happening on scales that telescopes astronomers use because they're such in demand, they can't necessarily be looking at all the sky at once. So amateur astronomers can still make these huge discoveries that then get published. And one of the cool things about it is that the last 4 authors on the Nature paper are the amateur astronomers who contributed photos from, from their work, like from the photos that they took. So that was really cool. So they're now on that paper as well.
And does something like this for you, Vanessa, kind of remind you too that science is forever evolving? Like, you might have some set of rules that you might believe apply to a certain planet or a certain atmosphere, but then you're constantly being challenged to rethink things yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing. Like, people would say, we're looking back to the Big Bang, we're looking back to the epoch of reionization, which is one of the big science questions, how the universe changed billions of years ago. And then we have something like this, which is published and defies what we expect on Mars. And you think, okay, well, even Mars, even the moon, all the things close to home, we don't know everything about them. So I think that's really exciting as a scientist, because there's so many things to know or to try and figure out. So you're always playing detective, trying to answer new questions, and things just surprise you. It's fun.
And it's nice to be surprised. Vanessa Moss from the Sydney Observatory and the University of Sydney. May you find something out there, and we look forward to yarning with you again soon.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you.